Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted, as always, to be joined by Elliot Grigg. We are reacting to the news that's been around for a couple of days now that Anthony Joshua will fight Francis Ngannou in Saudi Arabia on March the 8th. Elliot, maybe not the news we were expecting. But yeah, Joshua will fight Francis Ngannou. Obviously, Ngannou had that fight against Tyson Fury in October of last year. Joshua, we saw him fight Wallin last month. We were kind of possibly expecting him to fight a boxer in names of Philip Hergovich, Joseph Parker, Deontay Wilder still kind of came into the equation, but we've got Francis Ngannou. Your reaction to this fight being made official?
Uh, Complex reaction in some ways because I feel like it makes a lot of sense for Anthony Joshua to take this fight. Obviously, it's going to be a very lucrative fight, and it's one that I don't think is going to be particularly dangerous for him personally. But I also think, look, it is obviously slightly disappointing, but I can understand why Wilder wouldn't happen next. Like, why would it after that showing that you put together against Joseph Parker? I wouldn't want to see Joseph Parker fight again. I'll be the Hrgovic option's a good one because I think obviously that's a way towards a belt as well if Usyk gets stripped, but maybe they'll wait to see what happens with that after he fights Tyson Fury. So to be honest with you, it kind of makes sense to me. Like a risky fight would be if they threw him in with someone like Zhang. I think we could possibly beat him. So I think it actually makes a lot of sense to have a very very lucrative fight, crossover audiences, ticks all the right boxes, pays very well, and not a fight that I expect him to lose. So yeah, for me, it makes sense for Anthony Joshua, and I can kind of live with it. Frankly, he's had a rough road. Obviously, like losing to Usyk, kind of a rebuild, lack of confidence, whatever. Looked to be good. Look back to more towards his best against Wallin. So yeah, I happy to see him. Happy to see this fight for him. Actually, to be perfectly honest, I think it makes sense. I think he kind of deserves it with the record that he does have.
Yeah, I think bearing in mind, obviously, Fury and Usyk are fighting February 17th. Um, Joshua, you'd imagine he'd want to be back in the ring March, April, May time. It's unlikely he's going to be fighting Fury or Usyk as quickly as that. So it's kind of, yeah, I think he was always going to be fighting someone else. Um, and yeah, I just think it's a lot of it's a lot of money on the table, isn't it? As it was for Tyson Fury. Um, and what are you actually expecting to happen here? It's a tough question because we all thought Tyson Fury was going to breeze past Francis Ngannou. Obviously Joshua still is the heavy favorite here, but we've seen what Ngannou can do to a top heavyweight. There's a chance Joshua could underestimate Ngannou. You never know. What are you expecting to happen on March the 8th, Elliot?
I actually expect AJ to run through Ngannou, frankly. I think the reason that I say that is because, like, don't get me wrong, like, I don't knock in Ngannou. Like, he's obviously come across his fought Tyson Fury, who's arguably, for some people's mind, the number one heavyweight in the division, and put up a credible fight. But I don't necessarily feel that. I feel that Fury was just terrible, frankly, and I feel that Ngannou was all right. He was better than what people expected, but he was also not. He wasn't Sugar Ray Ngannou. He was like he was it was Fury was just box just fought terribly as he kind of. I think there was a complacency there, obviously for Tyson Fury. A lot of money, obviously. I don't think he necessarily expected to be that live a challenge. I'm not sure how well he prepared for it, but I think AJ won't make that mistake. Frankly, I think AJ will prepare for it. He always looks in reasonable shape or in good shape anyway. And I just expect him to be far too quick for Ngannou, and he hits hard, doesn't he? So Les Bernard, I think he's gonna stop Ngannou. And to be honest with you, I almost WWE-esque. I think he'll stop Ngannou, and then we're on the mic, we're talking about Fury, and we're making that fight happen, frankly. Dependent, obviously, like you say, depending what happens with Usyk and Fury. If Usyk beats Fury, I expect him to get on the mic again and start talking about how he wants a third go, etc., etc. But if Fury if Fury beats Usyk and he flattens Ngannou, I expect him to go full train onto the Fury Joshua, frankly.
Fingers
And if His
crossed.
Excellency is watching this,
Yeah.
then that's what we expect and that's what we hope will happen.
Yeah, well, he does follow us on Twitter, so he might just be watching this. You never know. I did want to ask, yeah, if that's kind of, I feel like people who are bothered by this, if we then get finally get Fury versus Joshua when both fighters are kind of on winning runs, then I just think people won't care. That'll all be forgiven if we do get that fight. Um, just to confirm, if you think if Usyk beats Fury on February 17th and Joshua beats Ngannou less than a month later, what happens then? Do you think we will see Usyk Joshua 3? I don't think we're not, I think it's unlikely to then see Joshua Fury. We could possibly then see Joshua fight. Hrgović, someone else for the IBF title. What are your expectations then, Elliot? And I have to ask because this Usyk Fury
Mm.
fight, it's getting tougher and tougher to predict. It's a real predicament that Usyk could win that fight.
Yeah, it's a tough question, very complex. I think to me, the primary motivation for Anthony Joshua is can he win a world title for a third time? So if the opportunity, say Usyk does beat Fury, like you say, but then he gets stripped of the IBF and there's a chance to fight Hrgović for that IBF, I actually think Joshua might take that, even though Ben Davison has said obviously, that he'd like to have a shot at getting Joshua in with Usyk and like to have that third round, that third attempt. I feel like if he doesn't get stripped, I feel he would take the Usyk fight. But again, which might, depending on how he fought against Ngannou, maybe you could sit there and go, right, Usyk's a bit older. Maybe there's a chance that he can, fight a bit differently under Davison, maybe be more aggressive, find himself a bit more, be more confident, maybe have a better chance. So there's a narrative intrigue there. But I feel like, for me personally, I feel like the Hrgović route would be the one that Matchroom would push him towards for the if there was the title, world title there for the third time, and then maybe make a bigger fight off the back of that. But I wouldn't obviously this stuff is all kind of like contingent on what happens with Wilder as well, what happens with like Fury as well, how they rebuild, how he would lose potentially to Usyk, whether it be I don't think they knock him out, frankly, so probably be on points, but whether it be like a dominant performance, those sort of things. But for me, I think whatever the route for AJ is the easiest route to another world title, and if that will be Hrgović over Usyk, if that route presents itself.
Yeah, there's lots of ifs and buts, aren't there? And look, we're going to see. We've not got too long to wait until Fury Usyk or Joshua and Ngannou now. So hopefully, kind of the day after March the 8th, we can have these conversations and really talk about them. Final question from me to you, Elliot. How excited are you for this fight? It might be a bit of a strange question, but Joshua and Ngannou, there was, I think it's fair to say, a lack of buzz around a lot of people because of what the expectations, what the fight was going to happen. Um, how excited are you for Anthony Joshua versus Francis Ngannou? How excited will you be on the night?
You know what? Like, I'm probably if that's the prevailing sentiment, I'm contrary to that. I mean, I'm not necessarily been Anthony Joshua's biggest fan at any point. Not definitely not a hype man, but I think this is a fair fight for him, frankly. And I think I am excited because look, it's going to be two guys that have power, and I feel like Ngannou will also be motivated. Don't get me wrong, he'll be buoyant after what happened with the Fury fight, and probably think, I'm up there. I can actually make a serious name for myself. Imagine if he stops Anthony Joshua, beats Anthony Joshua, the name that he would have, the cachet that he would have. So it's two guys that can be motivated. But I feel like this new version of AJ that frankly banjoed Otto Walling quite recently looked more aggressive, let his hands go. If Dave Davison can keep that sort of momentum going, it's going to be a spectacle, and I fully expect it to be that. I fully expect it to be detonation time, and that's what I'm looking forward to. So I actually am looking forward to this fight. I'm more excited about this fight than I've been for AJ versus Franklin, for AJ versus Hellenius, and for AJ versus Walling, because I feel like we're just going to see like two people just hitting each other hard, frankly, and that's what I'm up for, rather than thinking how's his mental state, how's he going to cope with this, etc., etc. Who's this person, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I'm more up. Why did that guy fight in Finland last week? That sort of thing, that I'm up for. So I actually am really excited about this. I'm most excited about this than I am since of any of AJ's fights post Usyk.
Fantastic. We'll leave it there. March the 8th, Anthony Joshua versus Francis Ngannou. Yeah, some people happy about it, some people aren't, but it is happening. Elliot, thank you for your time. Always appreciate what you've got to say, and I will speak to you again soon.
Thank you very much, and as always, guys, thanks for watching, and yeah, ready your season, baby.